Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. It's tax season, in case you hadn't noticed, and issues of taxation and economic growth are going to be front and center throughout this election year here in Massachusetts. So it's a perfect time to get the perspective of the nonpartisan Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation and its president, our guest today, Eileen McAnneny. Eileen, welcome. Good to have you here.
Good morning, John. Nice to be here.
So, Governor Baker has proposed a package of tax cuts and changes, including cutting the capital gains tax rate, doubling the estate tax threshold, and increasing tax breaks for seniors, renters, and lower income filers. The governor estimated it at about $700 million in tax relief. That's a drop in the bucket of our $48 billion state budget. Now, MTF, your group, has endorsed this. But I got to ask you, what reason is there to think it'll get through a legislature that just rejected a modest temporary moratorium on the gas tax for fear it would damage our bond rating?
Two reasons. First, it is an election year, and I think people like tax relief. But secondly, I think that the proposal is balanced, so it provides a lot of help to folks at the lower end of the income spectrum who have been most impacted by the pandemic.
For instance?
For instance, the no income threshold is raised. It helps seniors with their property tax burden. It helps folks with dependents by raising that credit. And as you said, rental deduction is increased as well. And so there's a lot of relief, as I mentioned, but it does two other things that I think are important. The estate tax, as you mentioned, and relief on the short-term capital gains rate, because they'll help position Massachusetts for growth in the future, which is critically important.
Now, I watched the hearing back in February where the governor presented and argued for this package. And the Democrats on the committee were receptive to much of it, but not to the capital gains tax. Adam Hines, the Senate chair of the committee, was talking about how his constituents want to know how is it fair that the rich got richer during the pandemic while they were struggling. Is that problematic politically?
I'm sure it is, but what I would say is Massachusetts' economy is based on entrepreneurship and investment and innovation, and so we don't want to make our tax burden so high that we drive people away from Massachusetts, particularly in this era where people can live and move and be anywhere.
Yeah, as we just saw during the pandemic. Well, speaking of which, one of the big ballot questions on your ballot in November will be the so-called fair share or millionaires tax. This is certainly the focus of a major battle. Your group again opposes this. It would slap a 4% surtax on income over $1 million with the threshold increasing with inflation, and the money would supposedly be earmarked for education and transportation spending, although there's some dispute about whether that's any kind of guarantee. Now, the most recent polling on this shows about 70% supporting it. With the name the Millionaires Tax, it's easy to see why. Eileen, is it possible that Baker's tax cut package amounts to kind of a proposed trade? You can have your millionaires tax, but we'll soften the blow with the Baker breaks?
That may in fact be his strategy. I would say certainly that the Baker tax proposal increases the progressivity of our tax code, which is a big thing for the proponents of the millionaires tax. So it may be looked upon favorably by them. But the issue is it certainly can't be a trade in the sense that the millionaires tax will go on the ballot. There's no taking it off the ballot at this point.
No, I understand that. But do you, we've got to take a break, but do you have any confidence that Governor Baker is going to be a high-profile ally in the fight against the millionaires tax?
That's yet to be determined. I think the fact that he's not running again for re-election certainly makes it an easier decision